Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about what I believe to be the smartest zodiac sign, on average at least. And just because your sign isn't mentioned doesn't mean you don't have the potential or propensity to be intelligent. I just want to let you all know that. Anyway, I'm going to go through some signs which might be known, or we could say are known for, I guess, their intelligence. We look at the air trinity, which is Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, and it seems like there was a consensus that feels that on as far as an element that would be collectively the smartest one, I guess based on, as far as astrologically speaking goes, and that could be very well true. I think there's some signs that can make an argument, but as far as an element, I would pretty much concur with that on average. If we look at some other signs, though, we look at Sagittarius can be visionary, and they can have very profound intellect. Sagittarius to me is like a sign. When I see Sagittarius, it's more as far as like the collegiate studies, the higher mind, since there's a correlation between their sign and the ninth house. I see them as being very smart on average. Look at Virgo. Virgo's analytical ability is very strong and arguably the best of all the zodiac signs. They're very intellectual, and their ability to articulate and verbalize things and analyze is obviously very profuse, and they're very strong in that sense. And we look at Pisces as another sign. You know, it's a water sign. They're very capable of abstract thinking. Albert Einstein had the sun in Pisces. We look at and then if we want to talk about some of the air signs, I want to talk about Aquarius as a sign. When we look at them, obviously that's the sign of the innovator, and a sign that is very progressive, can be revolutionary. Aquarius is a sign often that likes to be moving forward, is futuristic, and can have very strong, profound intellectual ability, very inventive, very ingenious. Look at the sign Gemini. And when I look at Gemini, that's kind of like, I look at them as the streetwise version of Virgo. Well, Virgo is more about analysis, and as far as being like very intellectual, as far as being studious and scholastically inclined. Gemini seems to be more, especially Gemini rising, is more of like the quick-witted intellect. They have such a quicksilver intellect. Their thoughts seem to always be moving so much faster than others, and they just have this uncanny ability often to outwit and outsmart people. And when you look at them, and obviously Gemini, ruled by Mercury, is obviously an exceptionally intelligent sign on average, but it's more of, like I said, I think the distinction between like Virgo and Gemini is the Virgo is that analytical, the more pragmatic intellect. It's a little more conservative. Gemini is a little bit like Aquarius as far as the progressive goes, and more of a creator type intellect, and like I stated, it's very quick-witted. But to get to some other signs, so look at Cancer as a sign that obviously they can have very profound insight, and they're very intuitive, and even though it's not an air sign, they have their own intelligence as far as the insight, and the intuitive part of them is very well developed, and much like Pisces. And Scorpio is a sign that obviously they could have penetrating insight as well, being a water sign. They can get to the heart of matters. They can sense duplicity in a heartbeat. They're very good detective ability and prowess, and seem to they can readily see a lie and quicker than most of us can, and they're very shrewd, have obviously very good detective skills and ability. And we know that Sigmund Freud had Scorpio rising. I'm not really shocked by that, of course. But if I want to get down the nitty-gritty, if I'm going to choose one sign that is the smartest on average of all, I guess I would say Aquarius, because of the ingenuity of the sign and the progressiveness, the fact that a lot of Aquarians have that moving forward type philosophy. It's arguably the most innovative of the signs. So I guess I would put them as far as the smartest. And as far as the dumbest sign, I don't believe there is such a thing. I think a lot of the zodiac signs in general have their own intelligence, and they're all smart. They all have potential for intellect in certain ways. Even you look at Taurus, as I mentioned in the previous video, the Taurus Taurus can actually be very analytical and have ability intellectually, and a lot of people don't seem to see that. You look at Nikola Tesla. He had Taurus rising, one of our greatest innovators ever. He also had 2 planets in Taurus on top of that. Bill Nye, the science guy, his moon is in Taurus. And it's just the Taurus. And Carl Sagan had his rising sign in Taurus. A lot of that too, and to be fair about this, well, that Taurus, if you have somebody with the sun in Taurus, you figure maybe roughly 1 out of 3 maybe are going to have their Mercury in Gemini, and so that's going to be added in there as well. In Mercury in Gemini, which Nikola Tesla had, don't be flabbergasted by that. He had Mercury in Gemini. Mercury in Gemini can give a very versatile mind and ability to understand virtually any subject, and somebody that could be very articulate, verbose, and have a good way with words. Also, back to Carl Sagan, he had his Taurus rising, I believe, at 25 degrees Taurus, and he had approximately 21 degrees of Gemini in his first house. So that kind of influences the little bit of personality. I call that, when I say weak rising sign, I don't mean like it's a passive weak rising sign. I mean when you have a rising sign between 25 and 29 degrees 59 seconds of arc in a sign, you're going to have a strong influence of that next sign over, and you'll have a lot of degrees of that following sign. So, and that could, I believe, that could impact the personality a little bit. So those people will even be more intellectual than the average Taurus person, which Taurus is a sign that actually can be intellectual. And it's surprising that there seems to be this correlation with them and being slow, which really I don't feel that's true at all. Being methodical is not the same thing as somebody that has low intelligence, and I definitely cannot agree with that statement. Taurus can actually be very smart, actually, which I know comes as a surprise to some of the people out there, but I believe it is true. But anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for the smartest sign in the zodiac, and stay tuned next time where I'll be continuing my South Node aspect series. 2 things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because a person astrologically is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.